Okay, so now we're up to the question of the Rasha. And as we already said for 2 sessions, his question is very closely related to that of the Chacham, just with an opposite thrust. So he indeed asks, Ma ha'avoda lachem, lachem means for you, what do you get out of this divine service? What do you get out of it? Lachem means like, ulakak lachem, we learned from that you have to own your lulav, that you, lachem means like, what do you own from it? What does this divine service give you? He's asking the same question as the Chacham, just with a very negative thrust to it. Say, what do you have to do mitzvahs for? Right? God chose you with pure omnipotence, right? As we explained. So if God chose you from pure omnipotence, so your relationship with God is not dependent on your mitzvahs. Right? It's built on pure divine omnipotence that's above where human actions could ever reach. So what do you have to bother with mitzvahs for in the first place? And so he's asking, Ma lachem, since we know we were chosen with pure divine omnipotence, what do you get out of keeping mitzvahs? God is committed to you by pure omnipotence in a way that you can never reach with mitzvahs anyway, so why bother with mitzvahs? God is committed to you anyway. Bereshis, already from the time he said Bereshis, he envisioned the Jewish people, he envisioned the Torah, so it was all a done deal by pure divine omnipotence ahead of time, so why bother? That's his question. It's the same question as the Chacham, but he's not interested in reconciliation. He likes the question as a way to justify casting off the yoke of mitzvahs. So as we point out, the Chumash says in basic code form, right? In general, the same message it says in detail to the Chacham in Parshas Bo. But the question is, not just to give him the facts, we have to drive the message home to his heart. How do we explain it to him? So once again, the Baal HaGoda is saying, how do you explain to him his mistake? Right? So I don't have to give him the facts that, God took us out of Egypt, right? And with pure omnipotence, but we owe it to him because he took us out. Right? And since he took us out, we must serve him for the way that we explained by the Chacham. So how do we drive home to the Rasha? Right? Not so much the answer is the message that has to come alongside the dry facts of the answer. The dry facts the Torah gives. And with this we can understand also. It says, Vayikoram Vayishtachavu, after the dry facts that the Chumash says to tell him, which are the same elements in general as the detailed explanation that the Torah gives the Chacham in Parshas V'eschana. Right? So the dry facts are there, so the Jewish people are happy that there is an answer. There is an answer. So that's what it means. There is a definite answer to the question, right? And that's why they bowed for the children, meaning that if a child ever asked this question, there's an answer. But of course, there's the child that asked the question because he's in the pursuit of knowledge, so here's the knowledge to supplement. But there's also how to educate him, how to give over the lesson, what message should accompany these dry facts. So they were very happy that there are the facts to give the kids. And there's always an answer. There's a way to save the child that's suffering from this question. All right, so there's an answer to give him. That's why they bowed. They're so happy that there's an answer for the son that, God forbid, has the same question the Rasha has. But the Baal HaGoda is trying to explain to you how to give over those dry facts. What message should accompany those facts? All right, how should you frame those facts? You have to give him an oral message, not just the dry facts that are written in the text, a message to make him see the error of his ways. Right? Not just the dry factual answer. So the answer is, Ba'avor ze asa Hashem li b'tzei. God did this for me when I left Egypt. Li v'lo lo, me and not him. Ilu hayasham lo yinegel. If he would have been in Egypt, he would have not been saved. It's an amazing thing. The paradox that because we were chosen by divine omnipotence, because of that we have to do mitzvahs, because of that we have to work, that paradox works both ways. Right? It's a two-way street. Just like, our relationship to God is built on pure divine omnipotence, but we have to do our best, for reasons that we explained, to be worthy of that divine omnipotence. That's why we have to do mitzvahs, to try to be worthy of what God has done for us already. but it goes vice versa, right? God knows, because He's omnipotent. So just like He's omnipotent, He's also omniscient. He's also all-knowing. Just like He's all-powerful, He's also all-knowing. God chose, by divine omnipotence, those who He knew would be interested in serving Him. Right? That the paradox goes both ways. Right? That God chose us in a way that's above where mitzvahs ever reach. But what type of people did He choose with that divine omnipotence? Those who He knew would be interested in serving Him. Like we say, we have to keep mitzvahs to justify, in the eyes of the nations of the world, God's choice. That God chose good people. God didn't do something strange like choose bad people. So even though we're chosen anyway, but we have to show that the being chosen is it was befitting that we should be chosen. God didn't choose bad people. So God chose. We didn't earn it. God chose, but He chose the type of people that He knew with His omnipotence. So with His all-powerfulness, He also is all-knowing. He chose the Jewish people that He knows a nation that wants to serve Him. Anyone who's not interested in serving Him, He didn't choose. And that's what we tell the Russia. We tell them, if you would have been there, you wouldn't have been saved. You're saying God saved you and drew you close, even though you didn't earn it, because in Egypt, for sure, we hadn't gotten the Torah yet, so there's no way we could have earned the redemption. So it's done by pure divine omnipotence. So you see, God's committed to us anyway. So why bother with mitzvahs? No. God is committed to us anyway, no matter what, because we're interested in mitzvahs, because we're committed to them, because we're committed to mitzvahs, He's committed to us in a way above where mitzvahs could ever reach. But He only has that type of omnipotent commitment to the type of people that are interested in mitzvahs. You're not interested in mitzvahs. Believe me, if you would have been in Egypt, you would have not been saved. That's the message we have to say to Him, that the paradox that you're pointing out is not a basis to throw off the yoke of mitzvahs. You know that whether you understand it or not, the omnipotent commitment of God, and which He showed in Egypt, that He saved us even though we didn't have any mitzvahs to our credit yet. So it shows they were chosen even without mitzvahs. But He only did it for the type of people that want to keep mitzvahs. And since you don't want to keep mitzvahs, you wouldn't have the benefit of that omnipotent commitment from God to you. Right? That's the message we have to send to Him, to see the error of His ways, not just the dry facts. Right? It's very clear. But the sweet side of it is, okay, if He would have been there at the time of the Exodus, He wouldn't have been saved. But there is hope for him now. Right? Because he is descended from people that are interested in serving God. Right? Because right now he is part of the Jewish people. He's sitting at the Seder table together with the rest of the Jewish people. Right? So, true, if he could not have been a founding father of the Jewish people. If he would have been there, he wouldn't have been saved. And you have to get that message to him clear. Right? Because that's the message he has to hear to see the error of his ways. Right? To see the evil of his question. Not just give him the factual answer to his question. Make him see the evil of his question. Right? But there's hope for him. Because true, he could have never been a founding father of the Jewish people. If he would have been in Egypt, he wouldn't have been saved. But thank God he wasn't there. He wasn't born yet. And he's riding on the coattails of his forefathers. And since he's riding on the coattails of his forefathers, God was committed to his forefathers, who were interested in serving God. And he's branched out from them. So he still has a connection by virtue of his forefathers. And that's the way he can make it back in. And that's what we say, that Keneged Arba Banadir Torah. The Torah gave questions and answers, that even this forceful answer, to make him see the error of his ways, it's to make him see the errors of his ways and do tshuva, because after all, he is part of the people. He's descended from the people who are committed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu unconditionally, just like God is committed to us unconditionally with his full divine omnipotence.